it's really interesting you say that because I've been looking into insurance lately, in particular as it relates to blockchain. Because blockchain is something that personally I've been very fascinated by the technology. I feel like it has a lot of applicability, but sometimes it gets meshed in with cryptos and some other stuff earlier on in its life, and it tends to kind of devalue it a bit because of its interactions with these other things. But I feel like that technology itself has a lot of applicability. It's just a ledger that's immutable.
Yep.
It has a lot of integrity, which makes it valuable. And I've seen that it's been used again for different things such as subrogation in the U.S. It's also been used to help prevent fraud, so double dipping.
Yep.
I'm curious, do you see any worthwhile cases in the Canadian marketplace for it? Are there any that you've been investigating?
I think the promise of the distributed ledger has always been a shared set of data across multiple entities, right? So, and full security at the same time. So it's a very powerful capability, and you can imagine situations like, for example, we have organizations like FundServe that connect sellers of funds and buyers of funds. But if the sellers and buyers of funds use the same database, they wouldn't need an intermediary at all, right? So it could all be done in real time. So you can do away with the T+2 or T+3 transaction time. So there's an amazing opportunity there in that space. Similarly, in insurance. The challenge with the blockchain has been, up until very recently, the distributed ledger just wasn't fast enough to manage the transaction volumes that we were dealing with. So the technology is catching up, I think, with the requirements of the industry. At that point, it's going to become super valuable. And you're right. I mean, I think a lot of the distributed ledger or blockchain construct has been wrapped around crypto. And, crypto has had its own heyday. It feels like the shine's come off crypto a little bit. And that's probably a good thing because, in my mind, crypto is it's questionable fundamental value. Because, there is no means of production. There's no actual revenue. It's essentially it's an attempt to deliver a fiat currency without a government backing it. And so, there's value in that, and for sure that's why the value of things like Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptos have grown, but there's no fundamental value. There's nothing you can sell off. There's no assets. There's nothing underlying it. Right? So it's an interesting, and you see the impact of that, of course, when a down market happens. I think some of these different asset types are down 70, 80, 90% more. And of course, we've seen some exchanges go under completely with some questionable leadership as well, right? So it's been an interesting time for sure.
No, definitely. I think there's a lot of speculation in crypto. I will say personally, I do see value in things like smart contracting, which is what Ethereum came out with. I think there's applicability for that outside of cryptos. So it's really just taking this technology and applying it to more meaningful things than just speculating on a cryptocurrency.
Right. I totally agree with you. I think the blockchain itself is an amazing amazing construct and a big part of the future. And so we'll see distributed ledger technologies become the mainstay of how we're going to hold data, how we're going to share data, I think, going forward. And this will tie back into our clients' ability to make decisions about their data as well, right? Because we're going to see more and more regulation around clients' rights to manage their data.
Yeah.
And of course, the blockchain is a great way to implement those decisions, right? So as well.
No, I completely agree. And again, I see so much value in the blockchain, especially in insurance, because I've been seeing it being implemented in some very interesting ways. Like there's a health insurance provider in the U.S., one of the largest ones, they essentially created an app, and then the app generates a QR code that their client takes and shows to different doctor's offices, and all of their information gets populated right then and there. So they don't have to worry about providing their insurance information or someone like their own personal manual information to different doctors, because now it's all in this QR code.
Sure.
And it's just there for them, and it makes their life easier. It's secure. Yep. They can also give access to it for a particular period of time. So it's not for, indefinite.
Yeah, you think about the amount of money and effort that governments have put into having just a shared health record for their patients. And again, as you said, the distributed ledger can solve that problem very rapidly. So yeah, I think that's a big part of our future, for sure. And certainly we're investing in those technologies in a big way. We've looked at it in the wealth domain quite a bit. But we've actually had implementations in distributed ledger technology in some of our IP, like trade finance, for many, many years. And we're at one of the leaders in implementing that technology and getting it into the market. So yeah, 100% agree with you. I think that's an important part of the future.
Definitely. I actually had Louis Bateman on a few episodes ago, speaking about blockchain and digital assets, and it sounded like a very dystopian worldview, a view of it all, where we're all just going to live on the blockchain. But I do think there's, again, a lot of applicability and a lot of interesting things happening that'll streamline, also help create security for everyone. So blockchain has a bright future, in my opinion. Now, I do...
especially important when it comes to, and this is where the cryptos become valuable and why people see them as part of the future, is this idea of sort of Web 3.0, the shift to metaverse, payment techniques being cross-border, so managing that without transaction fees. That's where the value in some of those things become really valuable. And I think it's going to happen. But will it become the way we live? I'm not so sure. I certainly won't become the way I live. I might be on it sometimes, but I think that's true of and for sure the firms who are investing in that will have huge opportunities because of that. It's a couple of hours of 5 billion people a day would be a pretty amazing set of clientele, right? So, and this is why firms like Meta and others are really focusing and investing in that domain. So,
absolutely, yeah. Web3 is all the hype right now. There was actually a Gartner report that came out recently saying that 75% of firms will have some type of interaction on Web3 with their clients. Yeah. So I thought that was very fascinating.
We built a marketplace now for our clients actually to practice in, if you will, and it's kind of like the idea of having a wealth branch in the metaverse, so that you can actually interact with your client, avatar to avatar, and have a face-to-face conversation in a domain. So it's interesting, and so I think that's going to be a big part of what's going to happen, and we'll see that change. But I still don't believe it's going to be the way we live our lives. I think it's going to be part of how we operate. So.
I agree. I think there'll be a balance that will be struck, for sure.